Hello and welcome back to the Foot Soldiers podcast. As always, my name is Luke. I'm joined here today by Sean and Conrad. It's getting to be that time of the year again, folks. It's a bit nicer weather outside, apart from today, obviously. It's been baseball's on the TV, and we'll have Cavs on our TV in 12 days from now. Cavalry, Ottawa, way to start the season. So how are we feeling?
I guess I'll start. I'm feeling optimistic. I thought this was a great off season. Obviously, one of the biggest transition seasons we've seen in the history of Cavalry. A little bit less transition than we initially thought, but transition nonetheless. So I'm excited to see what this new generation of Cavs has to show us on the field.
Yeah, I kind of echo that sentiment. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess. A lot of new faces. The last time we did a big turnaround like this, it feels like it was 2021 when we basically overhauled the squad after COVID, and that season was a little bit disappointing. So I'm hoping this one turns out a little bit better, and hoping we get a fourth final.
Yeah, definitely a fourth straight final would be great stuff. And again, like to your point, Sean, we had obviously our Foot Soldiers event a few weeks ago. It was great to see. Tommy's always great again. The new players to come out and say a few words and talk to fans, which was great to see. And just looking at some of the clips in preseason and stuff, like I do think that certainly the team's not looking as bad as it maybe looked like 2 months ago. And a big reason for that is the recent re-signing of Ali Musi 2 weeks ago. Turns out the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, that was my thought. So I remember talking about this a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago where we were talking about off-season signings, and there was the big three of Shom, Aird, and Musi. And I think it was kind of unanimous from everyone I talked to that Musi was probably, of the three, the one you expected not to be back, and that you maybe were like, okay, go see what the grass is like on the other side. See what kind of opportunities you can get. Go get that bag. And it turns out, yeah, like you said, maybe the grass isn't greener on the other side, just like what we saw with Marco. You have these big ambitions going out of the season. You've been here a while. You think, oh, I'm going to go get this great new contract, and you get out there and maybe there's not much out there for you. Maybe there's some better money, but you might not get the minutes, or maybe the league setup isn't that great, or maybe the housing situation isn't that great. So, I guess he kind of saw that, he had a good gig here, and, when he was on, he's the best player in the league. So I don't think anyone would be disappointed to see him back. But I think everyone's kind of surprised, especially since when they gave out that end of season video update, they said he wasn't coming back. And so maybe that was a little bit of reverse psychology. Maybe it's like, hey, there's a spot for it if you want, but yeah, so definitely a surprise for sure, but kind of a pleasant one.
Yeah, definitely pleasant, especially considering the run of form that Cavalry's attack had at the end of the last season. Really did have Gote and Ali Musi figuring in big minutes. You have to wonder which one will end up playing on the left, because obviously they both prefer that side, but it'll be interesting. And it also kind of makes me wonder what role Kenija Elva will continue to play for this Cavs. Obviously last year, as is tradition with this player, huge potential, but injuries always seem to rack up for Kenija. And I love him as a player. I think he brings in something different, especially as that super sub when healthy. But I don't think he can mess with the success that the four of Warshevsky, Inti, and in the center it was Sergio. And then you also bring back Musi. You'll have to see. Obviously, something I'd like to see, because something Tommy mentioned at the Foot Soldiers meetup, is a return to that pressing football that Cavalry was known for going into the Island Games season, especially. We'll have to see if the work rate on the opposite side of the pitch, away from attack, comes in more for Ali Musi, because, like Luke, that's something that's always between the two of us when we're in 200. We kind of throw our hands in the air whenever Ali's coming back in defense. So we'll have to see if that high press style can be continued with Ali Musi.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's very funny that, because obviously I think it's fair to say that I've been probably one of Musi's biggest critics over his time here. Certainly on the podcast last year, I spent a lot of time shitting on him on games I felt he didn't play very well. And even this year, like Sean was saying, of the big three, I said he was the one I would be the most okay with letting go. But now we're stuck with a situation where he's the only one left. But with all that being said, I do think I did vote for him for Player of the Year last year. Just because there was not a real standout of anywhere. And you're right, Conrad, he really was kind of at the end of the year getting into that, higher playoff spot, getting into the finals and all that stuff. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see kind of where he slots in this year. I am a little bit concerned if I'm being honest about the 3-year contract, because he's now going to be 31. He's not going to be playing for a contract anymore, right? It's hard to think maybe a 1-year deal somewhere, but so I'm a little worried how well this contract's going to age. But at the time being, like, I'm not going to complain about having Ali Musi starting lineup to start the year, right? So
I think that is where the grass becomes greener with Cavalry, and we aren't one of the teams that has to worry about ownership. Like, that is the benefit of being a Cavalry fan. They can offer contracts like that and not have to worry about, hey, can we play the players and also pay the city to use our field? Shout out to Pacific. But yeah, it is how you can sometimes reduce player costs as well. The longer the contract goes, the lower you can probably put on an annual value. And in a league that has as tight a salary cap as a CPL, that is something you do have to consider.
yeah.
Well, and also there's some depth there too. You have Jay Herman returning, so if you need something in a couple of years, maybe he bounces back and we show the Jay Herman from 2024, and maybe that if Musi if his performances do fall off a cliff, maybe there's other people who can step up.
You mentioned Jay Herdman, but we've seen through the reports that Nico Moroniak has a couple assists down in Mexico. So maybe that's another name we have to put some more respect on. The futsal legend. It seems that's the only thing that any of the commentators know about him is, did you know this man played futsal? So let's see if Nico can bring that MRU quality. Shout out to MRU from me and Luke.
That sweet flow too. Like, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely jealous. I wish I could grow something like that. So when I'm hanging around MRC, as I like to know it, I always check and see if his face is on the wall. So
yeah, well,
for MRC, yeah, it's still a C. That just shows my age, right?
Am I working? Okay, we're fine.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a long history of players who have come from futsal and played very well for this club. Obviously, Mo Farsi is the most obvious example. So maybe Nico Moroniak could provide that depth to Musi on that on the wing. And then kind of on my point, I was on the 3-year thing. Like, my only thing is, it's like in 3 years when we're still under a salary cap, we're paying him, however much money, like that could be an issue, but for right now it's fine. And we could always do like, the Willie Accio special of just like the Donald Trump, you're fired.
Or loan him out to Edmonton Revival version 2.0. Like, there's things that are coming, I think, from this league that will allow contracts like that to be a little bit more flexible. At least I hope, if this league can survive the World Cup. And who knows on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And like we're at a point now, to the opposite, where it's like, I don't know if we're gonna find anyone necessarily like who's a big upgrade on that right flank, right? So it's good to have, again, this team did make 3 goddamn finals in a row. So there's nothing else to say on the Musi point. I think we can move on now. Very recently, I think it was yesterday, the signing of Adam Perlman on loan from Toronto FC. Obviously played for Halifax last year, was probably one of their better players, scored a goal against us, if I recall correctly, but now he'll be suiting up in red for us next year. So
we had talked in previous episodes of us not picking up a replacement for Fraser Airdett, and this definitely speaks of that. And like, it's the perfect age, him being that under 21 minutes, of course, can only contribute a certain number because he is a loanee versus a signing. But hey, if we're gonna have a right back duo of Perlman and Harms, as let's see what this can do, I'm certainly game for it. We've only seen limited minutes from Michael Harms in the CPL level, but I wanted to call it League One Alberta, but I guess it's Premier League Alberta now. We've seen him with Foothills in the past put in absolute shifts. So we'll have to see if that can transition to the next level. And Perlman does have, I'd probably say, a higher upside, but I'd argue that he is a highly variable player. I do like Harms's floor versus I don't know what that is with Adam Perlman.
Yeah, and it feels to me like Harms is the long-term fit, but maybe the one that they're not willing to trust right now, whereas Perlman's we know we have a better player that we can, helicopter in for a year. We've seen him last year. We've got a good sample size of what he can bring. He's got a higher ceiling, but this gives us a little bit of flexibility. So if one of their play drops off, you can easily slot the other one in, right? I've been very vocal of being a Michael Harms fan, but it sounds like he's just not trusted yet to get more than a couple minutes here or there. Now, where this is intriguing is we had kind of pegged maybe Levi Lang in for a right back spot, and so with Camden and Ofori on left back, and then Perlman and Harms on right back, we seem to be pretty set at fullback. So then where does that kind of leave Levi Lang? Could you maybe have Ofori at left back and have Camden in a back three with Didic and Klump? Does Lang fit in a back three? Obviously, there's lots of injury cover if an injury happens. So it looks like we have a real solid back line. What if Emir Didic doesn't recover from his leg injury and he really struggles, right? So, we got lots of options there, and I think, in my opinion, I think we have the strongest back line in the league, and this just kind of solidifies it. The signing definitely caught me a bit by surprise. I think when we saw the teaser first thing in the morning, like the nerds we are, we're like, oh, who could it be? And so it started a debate of, well, is Max Peepgrass, is he a U Sports player? Do we need to sign him? Like, it's got to be him, right? Because we've heard rumblings after a couple pints, so is it him? And then it turns out it's someone completely different. So this was very much what do you mean? So I'm glad to see him. I'm glad he got away from whatever that disaster of a kid is, which we'll talk about later. So I bet you he just saw that kid and just said, like, you know what, I'm getting the hell out of here. So yeah.
And hey, the only knock I have on him is it's another sub 6 foot option for Cavs. Like, I love that we have Amir, but it's still one of these things where I still think this is a league where height is such an advantage, especially for a team that relies and is as proficient at set pieces as Cavalry are. Would have loved to see a player that had a few more inches in height, but because hey, it sounds like we might run a little bit of a shorter front unit, as it seems Owen Antoniuk also working his way into the squad. So there's another name
we could all use with a couple more inches,
I will say, according to Transfermarkt, he is 6 feet. I obviously don't know. Like, most of those plays are just like players reporting their height, so it's shocker. He said he's 6 feet. But like, we'll have to see. Obviously,
it's like the MLB right now. Like,
yeah.
All having to revert their heights because of the tracking and ball challenging. So
yeah, that's exactly it. We'll have to see. Obviously, when Perlman gets here, help. But again, like, for a right back, I'm not really worried about how tall you are necessarily. And I do think you're right, Sean. It takes perhaps a little bit of pressure off of Michael Harms. Like, he doesn't have to be the guy. Because I remember, I'm a big numbers guy. Like I have a spreadsheet of tracking all the players' numbers. I know when Michael Harms took the number 2 a couple of years ago, that was I thought it was a big statement of intent from him, but then he played like 3 games since taking the big number 2. So thank you, Conrad. So now I'll have to see if he can take that step forward this year, and but he doesn't have to as much, right? Because with Perlman, but also obviously having Perlman and Harms, who you'd imagine will take almost all the minutes at right back, that's a good chunk for you 21 minutes covered right there. So
yeah, throw in a little Harms and McGlinchey and maybe the odd start for Holiday, and there you go, 2,000 minutes, not a problem. Why not 6,000? Okay, maybe let's not get too crazy.
Yeah, we don't want to be specific.
We're not Vancouver FC where it's like we have 15,000 minutes and 0 wins. Like,
You mentioned Holiday, and I wonder if we do see a little bit more of Holiday, because as everyone has said, it is an older keeper in front of him in Callum Irving, and hey, when we do it, or Nathan Ingham. Oh my God, my brain today. Nate, I'm sorry. I'll come out to Foxtrot and buy a beer from you to make up for that one. But it is kind of interesting to see if this is the year where we do see that we're actually going to run a backup keeper this year, other than the one matchup against a Premier League Alberta side. There we go. Got it on the first time. But yeah, it's, and I know there was rumblings that it might not have even have been Joseph Holiday to be the backup keeper from a lot of people, but it's going with the known quantity in Joe Holiday, and we get to watch him in practice a lot, and of course practice is not match scenarios. Looks really good, and we'll have to see if he gets a few more minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I have said for several years now that I think Cavalry have really struggled by not having a backup goalie who can really like put Marco on the fire, so to speak, right? And I think Marco, he doesn't play for us anymore, so he can speak our truth here. That the Marco Canucci propaganda season's over.
We don't have to sub in Joseph Holiday to take on penalty kicks anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm for narrative ball. I'm saying for Marco, we're going to win 4 titles in a row this year. So right, so it's a bit of narrative ball there. But yeah, I do think Marco kind of got a bit complacent with never having a real backup pressuring him, and having Joe Holiday's a year older now. He looks pretty good for the U21s and all that. He's looks like the U21s, but you know what I mean. He's looked good in practice and all that stuff. So it's and again, Ingham's coming in like obviously not expecting to play every single game like maybe Marco was. Like he's not like the captain, right? So it's a bit of a different situation there. We'll have to see what happens with that this year.
Yeah, speaking of that, do we know who's had the armband down in Mexico? Have we had that come through? Sean, I know you probably look at the media more than I do. Was it on Sergio's armband?
You know what? I'll do a little sleuthing while we're talking, and I haven't noticed. So I'm gonna guess it's either gonna be Sergio or Klompy. So let's see what happens, or who knows? Maybe it's Myroniak. I don't know. Let's go.
Yeah, it'll look great on Instagram for Nico.
100%.
Yeah.
I'll do some research. Yeah. You know what? It's Michael Harms for captain. The campaign starts now. I'm calling it right now. He's a future captain.
But I'll throw another name in the ring. I think he's new to Cavalry, but certainly not new to league. Could we see Emir Didic take on the armband? Like, he's a guy that I think will be key for the set pieces, and seems to be a guy who keeps a level enough head when he's not walking to the parking lot at Atco Field and talking to me. But that's another name. Like, he's somebody that's going to be heavily relied on. He is one of the oldest guys on the team, him and Brad. Hey, Luke, maybe Brad's the one that's going to wear the armband.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Brad's he's a good leader,
Yeah, it's never a bad thing, obviously, to have a wealth of leadership in the team. I have long been of the opinion that like it doesn't really matter who your captain is, because like some guy, like if you're a leader, you're gonna be, you don't give a shit if you have the armband or not, right? Like I do think if I were a betting man, which I am, I would predict that Sergio gets it just by default, because every time we had a vacancy, it's gone to the previous vice captain, right? But then obviously there'll be plenty of opportunity in the season with Sergio not playing every minute to maybe rotate other guys into the armband, like Klomp or like you said, Didic. We'll have to see.
But yeah, that was my one concern with giving it full time to Sergio. I don't think Sergio's a 90-minute player in the CPL at his current age and injury history. So as pumped as I am to have him potentially wear that armband's probably coming off at around the 69th minute. So
yeah. Well, Nick Ledgewood wasn't a 90-minute player in 2021, and that worked out fine for us. So it's not really, like I'm saying, it's not really like I don't think it's as big a deal as people maybe make it out to be. But
yeah, so in my sleuthing from Instagram, I don't see any captain's armband, but I see a lot of sleeveless photos of Didic, so I'm just going to close Instagram right now.
Are you getting a little jealous there, Sean?
I might be doing some push-ups while we're doing the next subject here. So
yeah. Well, speaking of sleuthing Instagram, on that point, the team has been in the great city of, I believe, Guadalajara, Mexico, playing a few friendlies, getting in shape. I don't actually remember who the games are. Someone else could bring them up to me. I know they played Atlas the other day.
Okay, we started with a 3-0 victory against Leones Negros, which is a second division side.
Okay.
On March 16th. So
pretty good.
Yeah, absolute domination over a peasant team, like Farmers League, all that. I don't know anything about this team, but good to get in. So goals from Camargo, Antoniuk, and Elva, with Harry Payton getting 2 assists. So
taking the game the other assist.
Yeah, and Harry Payton, who is at least in various Foot Soldiers chats, much maligned as the with the Forge stink on him. I think he has a really good pedigree coming out of Scotland. So anytime he gets an assist, I'll make sure to rub it in the face of people. If you're listening, I'm coming for you. But yeah, nice to see our box-to-box center mid showing a little bit of offensive flair, because he's more of a center mid. I know I've seen him a little bit kind of all over the pitch in Scotland. So you can see him kind of getting an attack. I don't think he's going to pop many, but if you can get a little bit of distribution from there, which you didn't necessarily get from Shome or Baldissimo last year, I think that's a great sign.
Well, let's be fair to Baldissimo. We never saw a healthy Michael Baldissimo after that first few games. So I'd like to see him take a step forward. But as you said, Peyton has pedigree in this league and elsewhere. Do I necessarily like some of the off-field circus that I'm sure we're going to hear from other fan bases around him? No. But I think as long as the play on the pitch keeps clear, I think we're good. Because, hey, we heard about that with a certain player who now plays in Australia for about 12 months too. So,
yeah, let him chirp. We've heard enough from the people who supported a racist head coach. So
yeah, that is.
Assistant coach.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to let Forge fans talk to me about this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's good. Great stuff from the General Harry Payne. I think we'll have to call him that after the great American General. But we'll now move on to the second. I have us on Twitter here. The second game, it was a 3-2 loss to Tapito. My Spanish is dog shit. Tapatio. It says here on Twitter, the Cavs saw goals from Intigne and Warshevsky with assists from Herdman and Payton. So obviously great to see Herdman getting on the score sheet. He could be certainly a really good player for us this year.
Yeah, from my research, Tapatio is a hot sauce made in Vernon, California. So I think my research is incorrect there.
So from what I know, this is effectively a Pumas scouting squad. So it is a lot of younger players. So I wouldn't call it Farmers League, definitely a development league for Liga MX. But obviously high pedigree if they're going on to teams like Pumas and the other top teams of Liga MX. It is that younger development league after the whole reformation of Mexican football. So I don't know what you can draw from that either. But I think you have to keep in mind, Cavalry probably also isn't running their first squad. They're trying to see what they have in a lot of the guys who are understudies or trying to get into those positions. And it's interesting, it didn't seem that there was any trialists that went down with them that we heard about at this point. So interesting to see that, because I know that was kind of one of our messages that we talked about in the previous episode. Now there were some people that we expected to see trialist A on the score sheet. Oh, I always love that. But didn't see that in any of these matches, but continuing.
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to read too much into the results of a preseason game, especially when I haven't been able to obviously watch the game or anything like that. But just looking at the pedigree of opponents to play, you certainly, because you have to remember, it is, I believe it's mid-season in Mexico, right? It's almost the end of the season now, so they're maybe not going to get obviously not the top teams because it'll be in the middle of the season, but what we can get, it's been pretty decent. And the last game we had was just yesterday, in fact, a nice 1-1 draw to Atlas Guadalajara with Warshevsky scoring again. So that makes it at least 2 goals for him in preseason, and Antoniuk on the assist.
And I heard it was a pretty, I wouldn't call it a full B squad. I'd call it a 1A squad, at least for the first half from Atlas, from everything I've heard. So, and Atlas, not one of the Mexican giants, still a good squad, still I'd say an actual measuring stick. Good for your final match of a trip down to Mexico. Shout out to WestJet. Apparently did a lot of work getting the boys down. And to see Tommy trusting Owen Antoniuk in a match against a Liga MX side really is positive, I think, for that young man, because he's someone we haven't seen realistically anything. We've seen him have a couple bench appearances last year, but somebody that has been in that League One, Premier League, Alberta system and absolutely lighting the world on fire. So I'm hoping that he gets used, because I was worried he was going to get the Moel Gander treatment, where we think he's going to be the next star in the CPL and then never signs a deal anywhere. So good to see him on the score sheet there.
Yeah, and just to that point quickly, I would say that any Legal MX team is obviously way better than Forge. So that's kind of the teams that we really want to be comparing ourselves to. In that, only big teams are in preseason for us. So
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, these games are about getting your form back, getting your fitness back, playing a full 90-minute games, because you're not really going to get that in training. So to me, results don't matter. It's nice to see assists from folks, and it's nice to see Toby banging them in, and it's nice to see just pictures of the new boys. So in the end, it's okay. Preseason's done. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Also, I just do think it is nice to see that we actually have content, and because I remember for the longest time it was just radio silence for 2 months before the season started, right? So it's nice to see at least this is where we are, this is who we're playing, this is the pictures, this is the score. So I think it's great stuff from the Cavalry media team on that one.
Sean, when can we sponsor Simon and Alberto's own media to go down and give us the good old YouTube live stream of Cavalry preseason games?
We can maybe hit that up for sure. I think Ricardo went down there with his family. We should have got him to get out the old iPhone and hit it up. So long gone are the days where you got some state sponsored pictures of people running on the beach in the Dominican when all the teams are down there. So I'm glad we've improved for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember even like a few years ago, when he was still on the team, I remember talking to Anthony Novak about the preseason, and he was like shocked that we had no idea what was going on. So it's good to see like that. At least I can't think for the rest of the league, obviously, but at least for Cavalry, they're certainly moving in the direction of more stuff like that for the fans.
Yeah, at least our training ground isn't falling down.
Halifax actually live streamed their game from Spain yesterday or the other day. So I like that.
Let's go, Simon.
Yeah, let's get on it.
Yeah, that's the world. Well, anyway, I think that's enough to say about preseason, especially in games we haven't watched. Just a little thing here before we finish up. The Halifax Wanderers have released their spectacular, one-of-a-kind goalkeeper kits. I guess they have some fancy kind of ice cream in the East Coast. I don't know what those weirdos are doing out there. But so the picture is Marco Carducci looks like he wants to die wearing that kit. So
all I can think of when I saw that it was Moon Mist is the Moonbeam ice cream. Who was it that had that song over the summer? But anyways, like I love weird, unique kits, as does Sean over there, who owns most of the weird, unique kits in the world. This one I would put solidly in the F tier if we were doing a tier list.
Yeah, I having spent, my family's from Nova Scotia, so I've had some Moon Mist ice cream, and it's absolute garbage. It's fucking garbage. Foothills ice cream or McKay's in Cochrane beats anything you can get from Nova Scotia.
Hey, Foothills makes some Moon Mist. So
okay. Well, yeah, like it's one of those things. I don't mind wacky and weird. And given that we have a new provider, there's been a little bit of wacky and weird, but this one doesn't do it for me. When they did the promotional photos of him in the kit, it kind of looked like he was like, oh, fuck, I should have stayed at Cavalry. So, in the end, I'm sure he doesn't care. It's probably something a little more interesting than a highlighter. It'll probably sell a few more jerseys. So, you know what? Good for them for trying. But It looks like dog shit is what it looks like.
Well, at least they've revealed both of their kits. Like, I know Cavalry has said they've had some shipping issues to try and get the alternate kit in and allow us to see it. So hopefully they got 13 or 12 days to get those into town.
Well, we could do the red we have Pacific first game. You don't have to wear the green for that one. I assume it's green. I don't really know, and then Ottawa at home. We have it to the Forge game, really.
Yeah, and the home ones, they've had the same shipping issues with the home ones because they were supposed to be in last week. And so they sent out a message saying like, hey, we didn't get any of these, so we'll keep it posted. And so Hummel's not off to a good start, but they can make up for it by being able to reorder in the middle of the season when everything's sold out, I guess. So
there's something happening over on that side of the world anyways that may be making transit a little bit more difficult. So hey, if you're an F1 fan, you're just lucky that your drivers got to the races over the last few weeks. So,
well, they can also make up for it by making the away kit like a very good kit. I think I'd be fine with that if it's worth the wait. But yeah, kind of on that point, I don't think there's a lot else to say about. We went for about half an hour here. I think we'll be good to kind of start wrapping up here. So,
we lost it at the very end.
Of course,
in the sign off,
right to the end, right to the sign off.
The kits were so bad. Your mic was just like, "I'm out, man. I'm out."
Sean, did you order one of the primary kits? Are you big on this one?
It's not my favorite, but it looks pretty good. So at this point, if it fits well, I'll love it. So it's I think it's one of the ones that's going to grow on me for sure.
I've got my alternate Canada kit ordered. That's all I care about.
Oh yeah, the Canada ones. I don't like either of the Canada ones. I regret not picking up one of the ones from this last year when it was on cheap. So, but I
Hey.
buffed everyone instead. So
Hey, I'll be going to one of the matches with a certain other co-host on this pod. So
nice.
Yeah.
I have to represent for that.
I'll be at the pub.
There you go. Oh yeah. So anyway, we'll definitely try to do something next week. We'll talk about like a season preview for the Cavs. I'll try and read up on the other teams. Can hopefully get some power rankings in. Hopefully piss some people off, which would be great to see. But yeah, and then once that will be in the season, it's very close. So we'll talk to you next week.